We get our latest projections where the New York Mets are predicted to finish in the NL East. John Morosi gives us an outsider's perspective in regard to the Padres market, and we get an update on where Ronny Mauricio is expected to be this season next on Metcast. Welcome back to Metcast, friends. As always, I am Rain. If you're enjoying this content, I ask you to just like and subscribe, maybe share this show with a friend, but let's dive right into it. So the guys over at SNY were recently talking about Ronny Mauricio and the role that he could play on the 2025 New York Mets. I have my own personal feelings. I personally think that Ronny Mauricio should start the year down in AAA where he could get most at bats because let's be honest, the major league level is stacked. I predict Pete Alonso is going to come back and be the first baseman for our team this year, which solidifies the infield in my perspective. Day one, you're going to see Alonso at first, Jeff McNeil at second, Vientos at third, and Lindor at short, and Mauricio's just not going to play the outfield. You're going to see Brandon Nimmo, Jose Sirius, and Juan Soto. I think that is set, and the New York Mets have shown over the years that they don't want to bring up these players and have them ride the bench. So I expect Acuna to start out in AAA. I expect Mauricio to start out at AAA, maybe even AA, whoever's going to get the most starts. I'm not totally sure where they're going to play Mauricio, whether it's going to be second or third base, or potentially give him an outfield glove. He's got that big body. He projects well to be a third baseman. But the guys over at SNY just dove into a segment in regard to Ronny Mauricio. Let's take a look.
What do you think Mauricio's role is going to be this season? I know I don't think he's going to be exactly ready for that opening day roster, but in my opinion, having just watched Ronny,
I agree with that, by the way. I don't think he's going to be ready
in the minor leagues for many years, and then seeing him at the end of 2023, I think the future for Ronny Mauricio is the Mets third baseman of the future.
That is a very interesting take. Let's take that into perspective right now. The New York Mets have a top 10 prospect in Ryan Clifford, who is right on the cusp of becoming a top 100 prospect in all of baseball. That's got to be taken into consideration. He's young. His power is there. I believe the Mets think he is the successor to Pete Alonso. That's a big reason why the New York Mets are only willing to go short term. If they could get Alonso on a 2-year deal and say goodbye, I think that's 100% what they will do. Ryan Clifford is the first base prospect, one of those blue chip prospects that the New York Mets acquired in the Justin Verlander trade, along with Drew Gilbert. And the Mets are very, very high on him. So I think the plan would be to have him at first base, Vientos at third, and potentially have Mauricio be the successor to Brandon Nimmo in left field. As Nimmo ages, maybe move him more into a platoon / DH type player. Let's remember, Mauricio 6'3", 6'4", 220. He is a big guy, but he's got a cannon for an arm. And the New York Mets are very, very high on his exit velo. I remember a couple of years ago, he had a shot that was like 117 miles an hour, something off the bat. Maybe they get to that here. I'm not sure. But that's why they were so high on Mark Vientos. Don't forget, the New York Mets were infatuated with Mark Vientos because he had some crazy, crazy exit velo hits down in AAA, down in AA when he was coming up, and that's what made him project so well. And they're that high on Mauricio too. Don't forget, not too long ago, Mauricio is easily the number 1, 2, or 3 prospect, depending on how you had them ranked in our system. And even with Alvarez, who ended up being one of MLB's top 100 free agent prospects, even with the Brett Beatties of the world, they were very high on Mauricio, and that injury hurt his stock a bit, or maybe people forgot about him missing the entire year, but the Mets are still very, very high on him.
Who knows if that's exactly how the Mets deploy him once he is fully healthy, but he's a shortstop by trade. Of course, you have Lindor playing shortstop in the next 6-7 years. So where do you put a huge 6'3", 220-pound switch hitting beast? Probably third base. I don't know if That's
a big thing too. He's a switch hitter. They don't grow on trees.
told you that I'm high on Ronny Mauricio or not.
Sounds
He
it.
used to be the Mets' #1 prospect. He used to be ahead of Alvarez, used to be ahead of Beatty. Then both guys had great minor league seasons, and Ronny was forgotten about a little bit. But at the end of 23, when he had his first double over Teoscar Hernandez's head, 117 miles an hour exit velo
Yep.
off the bat.
What
That's
we were
how
just
I
talking
knew
about.
he's been waiting. He is ready for this moment. And I think he has the attitude of where Vientos was last year, which was, I feel like the Mets haven't called me up enough. Or when I was ready a few years ago, he gets hurt. He's still knocking on the door. He's got that hunger.
And that's what we have for Ronny Mauricio. I agree with him on a lot of things there. I will say this, and there's going to be a lot of Met fans that disagree with me. Let me know down in the comments, but please give your reasoning why you disagree with me. A lot of people just comment, disagree, or you're wrong. Please give me your analysis, and maybe we'll have a little bit back and forth, which I love to do in the comment section. But don't forget, Mauricio is older than Acuna. And I actually think outside of Lindor getting injured and maybe Acuna filling in a shortstop, I think if Vientos goes down, I think if McNeil goes down, maybe even Beatty, depending on not Beatty, Nimmo, depending on how he plays in the outfield, he might be up very, very quickly. The only reason why he's going to be starting down in either AA or AAA, most likely AAA, is because the New York Mets have shown over the years they don't like bringing their prospects up and having them ride the bench. And I don't think any team does. You want them to get those consistent at-bats, and maybe that's the plan for Mauricio. The Mets are full of depth, and I'm very, very high on Ronny Mauricio. I loved him when he came up. I'll never forget towards the end of the year, a couple years ago, I used to watch him on my phone, and he'd be hitting balls all over the place. He had a lot of hard hit balls. He's got to cut down on that strikeout a little bit, but switch hitting, that raw talent, you just can't teach. But that's what we have for Ronny Mauricio. Let me know where you guys project him. Do you think he could stick in the outfield? Because let's be honest, the infield is complete. If you plan on playing Acuna at second base, Vientos at third, and you have Pete Alonso hopefully for 1 or 2 years, and the successor Ryan Clifford already in the system, you got to find a place for a guy like Mauricio. And I think left field could absolutely be it. Nimmo maybe has a little bit of a platoon type role where he plays a little bit of right, a little bit of left, more the fourth outfielder, and gets a lot of DHing with that bad foot. But that's what we got for Ronny Mauricio. So Zips actually just released their top 10 projected players heading into the 2025 season, and 2 New York Mets are on that list. Let's take a look. So here is the Zips top 10 players projected heading into MLB's 2025 season. And I got to say, I agree with pretty much all of this. You have Ohtani, obviously, in the 1 spot, followed by Judge in the 2 hole. And then there's Juan Soto, the Mets fresh addition in right field. Those to me clearly, maybe Ohtani's in a class of his own, but those other 2 guys, Judge and Soto, depending on the year, they can almost be interchangeable, especially if Soto is going to continue to ascend as he enters into his prime. That's what's so crazy about this. He's 26 years old. He is entering his prime. And I expect within the next year or 2, we're going to start to see Aaron Judge's stats start to come down a little bit. Maybe not crazy come down, but age eventually catches up to him. He's also a player that is very frequently injured and has been lucky to be healthy over the last couple of seasons. But those are the top 3. Then I feel like there's a class dips below. You have the guys like Witt Jr., Tatis Jr., Henderson, Lindor. That is kind of my next class, those 4 players. You have Witt, Tatis, Henderson, and Lindor. I actually would probably have Henderson ahead of Tatis, but that's just me. But you have two Mets in the top 7 projected for 2025, followed by Julio Rodriguez, Skubal, and Betts. And I believe Betts should be on that list, but Lindor and Soto, that to me is why the New York Mets have to get Pete Alonso in the building, because it's one thing to have to protect against 2 guys, which the Yankees had last year in the postseason. You had Stanton lighting it up, and you had the fear of Judge. They're missing that one more bat to go behind them. And for me, Pete Alonso can be that guy. If you're doubting him, go look at those stats last season in the postseason. He had a 999 OPS. You can't make that up. He hit a bunch of home runs. Yes, he had a high whiff rate, but the home runs, the OPS was there, and he is a deadly, deadly bat when it comes to it. But those are your Zip projections for 2025. Now on to the last subject, we have Jon Morosi giving us his latest update in regard to the San Diego Padres, and he gives a little something that I haven't heard before. Let's take a look.
So it's a potential situation, Lauren, where maybe they. Yes, Lauren, the Padres are a team in flux right now. And A.J. Preller over the weekend, I think of all the hot stovey news that we had was what A.J. said during the Padres Fan Fest, which is he's trying to get 1 or 2 arms and 1 or 2 bats before the season starts.
Think about that. They're going to add 1 or 2 arms or 1 or 2 bats. Almost tells me that they don't know what they're doing. They're trying to shed payroll clearly, but they're trying to do it while adding major league talent.
AJ,
he can do it if anyone can.
Next week, it's February 3rd.
He's a gamer.
So here's what I would say. He has got some work to do. There has been some talk of the Padres moving some starting pitchers out, such as Cease or King. But Lauren, over the weekend, I was told this. It is now just as likely that the Padres will move one of their younger prospects to bring back some reliable innings. Now, it's possible that he does both. He might buy and sell. Maybe he moves Dylan Cease in a package that brings back some starting pitching, some younger starting pitching. But remember, they've also got
And that would be the issue because the New York Mets don't have that to offer. They're not going to give up Brandon Sproat. And these guys are on 1-year contracts. So if they're trading him, they'll probably have to be some type of 3-team deal or look somewhere else to add that starting pitching because the New York Mets just simply aren't going to give it up. And they're not going to be interested in the back end of our rotation. You're not trading Senga. You're not trading Minaya. So that boat would kind of sell. The Mets have the position prospects, though, to offer that are about to be major league ready. You have the Williams, you have the Gilberts, you have the Acuñas, you have the Mauricios, you have the Beatties, you have all these guys who are pretty much ready to be on major league teams. Maybe that could entice them there.
A young catcher in Ethan Salas. I tend to think they're not going to trade him. DeVries as well, a younger prospect, the middle infielder who's got a lot of value in the marketplace. So it's a potential situation, Lauren, where maybe they move out some younger prospects, even if it's not Salas or DeVries. Maybe it's a different prospect to bring back some more reliable innings. I'm thinking about a team like the Nationals, for example, even the Cardinals. They've got some innings there, pitchers like Fetty in St. Louis.
The Nationals are not trading for Dylan Cease or Michael King.
They need to stabilize this rotation. They've lost a lot of innings.
That would be
remember,
ridiculous.
Joe Musgrove with the injury not available to them. So, Lauren, they are the team that in so many ways I'm watching. Even if the Cubs get a player like a Cease in a trade, we can still see the Padres try to add arms elsewhere. So, A.J. Preller, as he often is, he is on the All Hot Stove show because A.J. Preller may make a number of moves before the start of at least
I believe it.
And that's what we have for Jon Morosi. And remember, there's one more thing to monitor. We keep hearing all these talks that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will be signing a contract extension shortly. They're looking towards it. Well, his deadline is February 18th, and tomorrow's the 4th. So that gives them 2 weeks to sign an extension, or he's not going to talk extension talks. That is still on the table. And you just heard it from Morosi. He expects bigger moves to be made. I expect the Mets to be involved. They have to be involved. They have too many prospects. They're too top heavy. Let me know in the comments what you would give up for any of those guys, including Vladdy. I love to interact with you guys. As the Mets content continues to come in, we'll be sure to bring you the latest. Again, if you guys are enjoying this content, I just ask that you hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe share this with a Met friend of yours. But until next time, take care.